Sangeeta.
How amazing is
That's
that?
amazing. Yeah, it's great to be here at Wembley Stadium, isn't it?
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I've made it.
This is amazing. Welcome to Are You Creative Podcast. Now, this is like a bit of a special moment for us because we actually started this podcast about 2 years ago in this very bar.
We did.
I was saying there should be a blue plaque there but it was amazing. Like, we used to have this creative night, Ignite, and Sangeeta would run the bar and she'd say, I wish I had something creative to talk about. So we decided we'd try and find you a creative hobby or a career by meeting loads of creative people. So we've got a very, very loose, subject for creativity. But it's brilliant because it means we can have loads of good guests like Steve Lamacq. We've had a stunt man. We've had an opera singer. We've had an algorithmic artist. Comic drawer. Yeah, it's amazing. So we met all these crazy people. But 2 years ago when we started it, I had my list of my top 5 guests I wanted from Essex. And we've got one of them today. Do you want to know what the top 5 were?
I don't know. Well, it depends where I am in the top 5.
I'm not going to say where you are in the top 5. There. But you are in the top 5.
Well, okay. That's enough.
Not
for
the
me.
top 4. No, the top 5. So what we do, we talk to creative people from Essex, because Essex is obviously the best county in the world, and Essex has achieved so much. We punch bigger than our weight, right?
We do, yeah.
So much culture going on, and we have got an absolute broadcasting legend here, MBE. You're not wearing it. You haven't got the medal on.
No, we could talk about it later, but I mean, that's when you get a letter, obviously ahead of, they send you a letter saying, will you accept this MBE? But the letter comes in an envelope, which looks like, have you ever done jury service? Because it looks like you're being called up for jury service, and this envelope comes through the post, and I thought, God, not jury service again. I haven't got time. And so I was very resentful of this letter and just put it to one side for a couple of days, and then eventually opened it, and it turned out, and I didn't really, because I was so taken aback by it, I had to then go and take it and show it to someone. Basically say, is this what I think it is? And
did I say you swap lists for a medal at Buckingham Palace on this date?
Essentially.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you worn the medal in your house? Do you wear it? Do you wear it around? Do you lord it up?
No. No.
You get priority boarding on EasyJet or something if you got it.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't actually thought about that. There really are very few perks that come with an MBE, apart from your child, your son or daughter, can get married at St Paul's Cathedral.
Oh,
apparently,
that's good.
I mean, that sounds expensive to me. So there's no way that's happening.
Yeah, I think there's a Tesco Express next door, so you can get some meal deals if you want catering.
You know what I mean?
We are going to talk about your career here in journalism and broadcasting. Can talk about a bit of music. At the end, we'll have a Q&A as well. So, like, all you nerds can ask questions about, 6 music bands and stuff, and show off about how much you know about The Fall and stuff like that. That sort of stuff. And by the way, Sangeeta has not heard of any bands apart from Blur, Oasis and Nirvana. We've established. So, look out for it. And if we talk about a band you like, give us a cheer or something. It's like, make it a bit interactive. We might mention the Meths.
yeah. No, I've heard of the Meths.
Yeah, that's the only time we're going to mention the Meths.
When is they're doing a thing, aren't they? They've got a festival.
At the Charter Hall, Meth Fest.
Charter Hall,
it's
Meth
coming
Fest,
up,
yeah.
Got UK subs and Crass and some other stuff going on there.
Yeah, proper old school punk rock. Yeah,
That's a big room. I saw Ned's Atomic Dustbin there.
Oh, you see, already we're talking about bands from 100 years ago.
No one cheered for Ned's Atomic Dustbin.
Yeah.
So, but look, we're going to go back all the way to Harlow, right?
Okay.
You studied journalism in Harlow.
I did. Obviously, it's a very, very long story. As a quick précis, I think I grew up in a very tiny village near Halstead. The population is, at the last census, I think was 1,003. Oh, wow. There were 5 other kids of my age in the village. I liked 3 of them. The other 2 didn't like me. So it's almost like you're looking for something to engage with. And you know what it's like when you get to a certain age. And I remember just before, it's around Christmas 1974, 74, so no, 73. So I'm 9 years old, and for some, I don't know why, but my dad put the top 20 on the. So they used to do, rather than the top 40, they used to do the top 20 on Radio 1 and Radio 2, I think, on a Sunday night, and it was pop music, and I'd never really heard pop music because, you know, my dad is of an age where he fell in love with trad jazz in the 50s and has never changed. His entire record collection, if he's got 100 vinyl albums, then 96 of them are by Chris Barber and his jazz band, right? And so this pop music thing just blew us away. And so I even then I gave up buying Tiger and Scorcher and bought the Record Mirror. And then pop music went a bit rubbish at the end of 75, sort of 76. Obviously, I don't know that, you know, there was a thing called punk rock beginning to happen in London. But then when it did happen, and I moved to a big school and I started listening to radio again when I was doing my homework, then there were all these amazing bands. And just listening to, I think the first bands I probably heard were, well, there was 2468 Motorway, Tom Robinson, there's the Stranglers. And then I heard Do Anything You Want to Do by Eddie and the Hot Rods. And it just, I mean, it was life-changing, really. But then I heard this band called The Lurkers and absolutely fell in love with them. And I've
got to say, The Lurkers were played on Six Music today by Craig Charles. I don't know if anyone was listening.
What are the chances?
We manifested this conversation. It must be the first time they've been played for about 10 years.
I mean, probably is. But the thing was, so, I mean, they were, you know, they were a classic sort of, even amongst punk rock bands, they were the underdog bands. I mean, they were once described as Britain's answer to the Ramones. Okay. Just once described as Britain's answer.
And that was just now by Stephen Lamacq at Patch Place.
But they were, but in the end, but they played. I saw in, I think it was Record Mirror, that they were going to do a tour and they were going to play in Chelmsford. I thought, this is amazing. Maybe I can go and see the Lurkers. And I have no idea why my mum and dad thought it was okay for a 13-year-old kid on his own to go and see a punk rock gig in 1978.
Did you make your way here on your own from Cole End Game?
No, to be fair, they dropped me off.
As any good parent does.
Yeah. I don't think they knew anything about what punk rock was.
Yeah.
You know, they were stuck. I mean, even the 60s have passed them by. They don't own the Beatles record, right?
Jazz gigs are pretty safe, aren't they? Trad jazz gigs.
So, yeah, and even when I was saying I don't know what to wear, and my mum said, well, you could wear your school blazer or something. I'm not. What is you don't. Anyway, but they dropped us off. I remember them drop us off at the end of the street. And they dropped us off, and there were only, because obviously I've never been to a gig. I don't know anything about this. I've got a ticket. It says it starts at 7:30. Dropped me off at 7:30. And there were like probably about 6 disconsolate-looking Essex punk rockers stood outside, one of them dressed in a bin bag. And at that point, I think my mum was going, I think we may have made a terrible error here. But I went to this gig, and again, you know, it was life-changing. I mean, I don't know what I did between 7:30 and 9 when the support band went on, who were a group called the Sods, who came from Epping, I've later found out. And then the Lurkers came on, and it was honestly the most exciting thing that had ever happened to us. And all I wanted to do after that was go to another gig, and it absolutely changed my life. And as I walked down from the Chelmsford train station earlier, and I went past where the Chancellor Hall was, which is now Kingpin Bowling Alley.
Kingpin Bowling, everyone, amazing.
That. Talking of blue plaques.
It used to be Evoke nightclub before that.
Yeah. Anyway,
we can organise this blue plaque, you know. Like
do you reckon?
We know someone that could put one up. Yeah, Steve Lamacq went to his first gig here.
Yeah, I think, you know.
We should
it's worthy.
put on a heritage tour.
So, yeah.
But that, I mean, after that, obviously, music became such an important part of my life. So anyway, in the 6th year, I started a fanzine, and then when it came to deciding what I was going to do after school, I could have gone to university probably, but in the end, I did a 1-year course. The National Council for the Training of Journalists did a 1-year course at Harlow Tech in journalism. And so I went and did that, carried on writing the fanzine, and then ended up, after I'd finished the course, going into local journalism. I worked on such esteemed newspapers as the West Essex Gazette, the Redbridge Guardian,
Yes.
and eventually ended up on the Harlow Gazette because I was living in Harlow.
If you'd done it now, you could have ended up on Essex Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But, you know, are any of those skills you were learning then transferable at all to now? Was that proper notepad and pen and shorthand journalism?
I mean, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, these days, I mean, the one thing they do teach you is how to edit down what you're going to say and write a news story very economically. They teach you the pyramid of how to write a news story. So this is the most important thing. I will flesh this story out a little bit, then I will give you more details. And that's basically what news journalism is.
Not now. For Essex Live, it's enigma. Something's happening here. You'll never guess where or what happened to who.
By the way, delays on the A12.
No delays on Essex Road. Click here to find out which one. Yeah, that's what goes on.
But that's it. I look at it now, and I think we were really lucky at that point that there was a course you could do, and it wasn't. You didn't have to pay loads of money for it. I mean, I was skint the whole way through the year at college, but they put you up in digs, and I learnt an awful lot and came out of it as a junior, reporter. And then had the chance to really learn my craft on a group of newspapers that were proper newspapers with people who were proper journalists that you could learn from, who could pass on all their skills. I was working with some ex-Fleet Street people who gave you a real, I think they improve your instinct about what journalism is. It's not just the craft of how to write. It was even just how you talk to people and listening to people, and I learned an awful lot on local papers, and that's I don't think those opportunities are there so much anymore, which makes me a bit sad.
I think it's great to have a mentor, isn't it? Like to have someone that can teach you. I suppose if you're just remote working from home, tapping away at your desk, filing article, you got to do 10 things before lunch. You're not learning from anyone. I
mean, I think it was really interesting because there was, by the time I ended up on the Harlow Gazette, there were two papers in Harlow. There was a free paper and there was us. We were the paid-for paper. And it teaches you about, the camaraderie of being a team as well. And you were all working to the same thing. Even if some of you didn't like each other, you knew that at the end of it, what you wanted was for loads of people to buy the paper and also just getting out into the community was really. But I ended up because I wasn't a very good news reporter, so I ended up on the sports desk. There were two of us.
Sports desk, brilliant. Yeah.
And you do question your life when on a Saturday you're stood watching Sawbridgeworth Town in the rain.
You didn't get to go to Col U?
No, really? Literally the teams we covered, Bishop Stortford, Harlow Town, Sawbridgeworth and Stansted. And when you start recognising members of Sawbridgeworth Town's first 11 in the street, that's a point where you think, I'm not sure. But you got, the great thing was, obviously you worked Saturday, but you got Friday off. Yeah. So that was good. But it was at that point that when the sports editor was promoted to deputy editor, I was made sports editor. I was 21, I think, at the time.
Oh, wow.
And they, as part of your role as sports editor, not only do you have to write some of the copy, I'm an assistant, but you have to write the copy and they teach you how to lay out pages.
Yeah.
Right.
So essentially you become a sub-editor, and that's a great skill to have. It was something I really enjoyed, was just laying out the page. And you have to come up with the headlines.
Yes.
And after a while, obviously, I know a lot of people are interested in local football results and the local swimming team and stuff like that. But there was a point where you got to do something just to keep yourself interested. So one week we did a whole page of the Harlow Sunday League where every headline was the song title of a Clash record.
Brilliant.
Whites, Riots, The Magnificent Seven, the whole page. But it was great, and that obviously led to then working at the New Musical. Well, what happened was I saw an advert in the New Musical Express for a sub-editor, and so I applied for it. And
Did you take your fanzine down there as well, and one of your layouts?
Yeah, I actually did. Yeah.
And
I got
and your Lurkers t-shirt. Yeah. Do you have any merch with you?
But I went for this interview at the NME, and I've got the qualifications. I'm a qualified journalist. I can lay out pages. I can do this and this. But also, and I just emptied a bag of my fanzines onto the editor's desk and said, and I also do this because I go to loads of gigs, and I think there's loads of bands that I'm not sure you're covering, and I think there's some really good stuff out there, and I think that's probably what helped me get. Then they gave you a day-long trial, and then they offered us the job, and then I was working at the NME. And just to come back to, if anyone wants to top us on this full story, on my third day at the NME, I went to the gents' toilets and I stood 2 urinals away from Marquis Smith, and I thought, my life has changed significantly.
You've made it.
Yeah. This is not Sawbridge Worth Town.
Then your parents would really regret dropping you off at the NME then. So now, I suppose I suppose, if any young people wanted to get into journalism, what is that equivalent of the fanzine, tipping out the fanzine? What do people want to see from people?
If you want to write, you've got to work out what sort of writer you want to be. I think, as I say, I took a very circuitous route round, going through news, and that helped in a way because I had the journalist qualifications. But if you want to be a writer, then you have to write.
Yeah.
And you have to write all the time. Write every day. Even if it's a diary, just write something every day to become a better writer. And the great thing, writing the fanzine was good, but in any form of writing, even writing terrible stories about campaigns for the new local bus shelter when I was doing that at the West Essex Gazette, write. And come up with an idea that you can do something with. I was thinking yesterday, because I thought this would come up, what would you advise people to do? Well, come up with something you can write about and involve people with. Say I said to you, give me a list of your top 10 albums of all time, and they wouldn't necessarily be my top 10 albums. Yeah. So you give me a list of your top 10 albums of all time. My challenge is to write sleeve notes, 300 or 400 word sleeve notes of that record.
That's your homework, everyone. Yeah. So, if you could have that on Steve's desk by 9 a.m. tomorrow, and we'll hear it.
But you'd be writing about stuff you wouldn't necessarily, write about. Yeah. And it's a good challenge. Find new disciplines to write. Just write and give yourself a challenge. And then you've got an amazing body of work. And, you could start a website, couldn't you, of, the sleeve notes for some of the greatest records, and everyone can get involved. But you've got to have... I once interviewed a guy who was an author, really, but he wrote comic books. He wrote the books of the professionals. There's one for the teenagers, a very old TV show. And he was just a really good writer. And his advice was to write about different things and let your brain come up with ideas. So sometimes just go for a walk or have an idea and come back to it 2 days later, and that will be something that somebody else doesn't do, because it's fiercely competitive, any form of writing. So you've got to be better than everyone else or have something. Even if there are 10 great writers, what's the thing that makes you more interesting than the other 9 writers?
It's like having a USP.
And that might be, your subject really well. That's always the thing which I've tried to do, and that's why I go to a lot of gigs, talk to a lot of people, because I want to know the subject better than anybody else.
How many do you still go to a lot of gigs? How many gigs do you go to a week at the moment?
Maybe 2 or 3 now.
That's pretty amazing. Still.
That's still good going.
Well, It's slightly more difficult these days because all the gigs, back in the 90s and even the noughties, all the gigs were up and down the Northern Line, so it was easy to get home. Now you've got to go bloody East London. It's like, I want to be waiting at Hackney Central 9 minutes.
Don't not Hackney's all right now.
9 minutes, though, on a train to get back to Highbury, to change at Warren Street, to get home to South London.
It's not the same as the Camden Crawl, is it?
No, I mean, that's why I love Brixton Windmill, because it's exactly 17 minutes on a 133 bus. So, I mean... Any new
and it's got a dog on. It's got a dog on the roof as well, hasn't it?
It's got a dog on the roof.
Yeah, which is the best thing.
The great thing about writing the fanzine was it meant you could go and interview bands.
Yeah.
And I think from that point, you started working out people's characteristics,
Right, yeah.
and who you liked and didn't like.
Yeah.
And then more than that, you start thinking, you start asking questions about why do you do this?
Yes.
And it's actually really interesting trying to get to the core of what an artist does and why they do it, and what they would like to achieve. And in some cases, it's simply, I would like to be a successful person standing on the stage, or a successful person making lots of money. And you eventually find, I think, and I'm fascinated by this, but there are people who, and I quite often apply this rule when going to see new artists, is, are you just doing this because you can do this, or are you doing this because you need to do this?
Yeah.
That you just have to do this. Despite the fact that it's really hard and you're not getting paid, but there's something within you that needs the artistic expression, and you need to actually do it. And those are the people who are, in general, more driven and will still be there in 5 years' time, where even people who just can do it and become successful are the people who then just stop doing it because they didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
But the journalistic fascination comes through talking to the actual people who are making the records.
Last week we were talking, we have Music Venue Trusts down here as well, and we're talking about touring as well. And it's so hard for bands to tour now, financially. We found out, you can fit 7 people in a travel lodge room if they'll Tetris together properly. Yeah. So, it's really hard. Even economically, that's impossible for them to tour based on what they're selling, unless they sell enough merch on it as well. So it's really hard for bands. You've got to really want it now to be a band and to sort of cut through.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And getting through that point, there must be points where you're asking yourself why you do it. And I do understand why some people would just go, look, this is not for me because it's doing my head in. I'm not really enjoying it. But at the same time, there are artists who will just go out and tour and tour and tour. I think probably, it's the perseverance, isn't it? And I think that's why, particularly when I first saw Idols and talked to Idols, it's like there's a band that no one gave a damn about, and I'd been obviously around the Bristol scene for 2 or 3 years, and had quite a fractious relationship. But the thing that held them together was the fact that they loved doing what they were doing and trying to express themselves through music, which at times was the only thing that those 5 people had.
Yeah.
And particularly Joe, I think, it was the one thing that he really had, was to be able to stand on a stage and express some of the emotions and the feelings and the opinions that he had. And once you talked to him, you thought, you will carry on doing it. And obviously from there, it took ages for Idols to become, the popular band they were. But they just went out in a transit or a splitter van, and they just played and played and played, because playing was where they felt felt most at home in a way.
This is part of your magic, though, isn't it? You're sort of like the kingmaker a little bit for these bands, aren't you? Because you see something in someone like Idols, and you'll play them on your show, and you'll support them even from the outset. So you're a big part in their success as well.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean,
I didn't mean kingmaker the band, by the way.
Although I did go on tour with Kingmaker once.
Did you?
There you go.
I saw them at Essex Uni. The opening act was Radiohead. Can you remember that? Have you heard of them? I don't know what happened to them, but they did play Creep twice.
What, Radiohead?
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Not Kingmaker, no.
Do you know? But I was there at that gig because they'd done Cambridge the night before, and Loz the singer had got quite drunk and had carried on drinking the next day. And we got to Colchester. I think we were staying in the George Hotel, and the tour manager said, Loz is in danger of losing it. But anyway, so we went off to Essex Uni where they were sound checking, and Loz fell off the stage. He just toppled off the front of the stage. It was decided then by the tour manager that someone should take Loz back to the hotel and sit in his room and not let him out or let him have anything to drink. And there was this moment where everyone in the band and the crew were all looking around, and everyone looked at, what, me? So I spent an evening with Loz, telling him he couldn't drink, to the point where he eventually dozed off while I watched Blind Date in a
Good old Scylla.
and then we all went back for the gig. It's the glamour that I most enjoy about it.
Yeah, talking about supporting new bands that come through. I think you were the first person to play Coldplay on the radio, apparently, and Oasis as well. So
the Coldplay thing was one of those nights where, and this is why there are times where you just have to, even if you don't want, sometimes when you're thinking, I could go to this thing, I could just go home now. And I don't know, it was almost on the flip of a coin, but it was a Tuesday night, and I finished the show and I went to the Stag's Head, which is the pub nearest to Radio 1, and I bumped into my mate, Computer Mark. And I said, I really should go and see this band in Camden tonight. They're playing at a place called the Falcon. And we convinced ourselves into going. And I don't know, still to this day, I don't know why, but I counted the amount of people in the room, and there were 33 people in the back room of this pub in Camden, the Falcon. Four of us... Well, there were four people from the music industry and Computer Mark, and the rest of the crowd was just, because they were still at UCL, they were still students at the time. Okay. So it's all the mates that they'd twisted their arm and, will you come and see us?
It's nice when you're starting out in a band, isn't it? You get your mates to go.
Gotta come. But they were one of the few bands that were ready, because you see a lot of artists and you think in, I don't know, 6 months' time, a year's time, you'll be really good if you keep working at it. Yeah. Coldplay, amazing. Even then, naturally. He was, Chris was, and he was playing this slightly battered piano, and they had the globe on the top of the piano, which features on the first record, and but they were just they were just really good, and we all walked out going, actually looking at each other going, is that me, or was that actually really quite good? Because you have to, and this is what I have to explain to my wife on various occasions, why are you going to this gig and why are you going to see this band? And even people I work with, why are you going? Why are you going to see this group? Because you have to see bad gigs to know what good gigs are. I wouldn't intentionally go and see a shit band.
Yeah.
It's good to have a palate cleanser sometimes.
Right.
But you do have to, it's context, isn't it? It's like this thing, when you first get into music, you listen to 10 records, and your expectation is, of those 10 records, if it's this high, if it's this good, I'm doing a graph thing for people at home, then that's fine. But once you've been into it for 2 years, your expectation goes up like this, and it goes up like this. But at least and I think you have to, it's all about the context and finding out what's, realising across the landscape how many different bands are doing different things. And the more you've seen, the more well-versed you are to have an opinion, I think. And some people can't be asked.
You can see Coldplay and you can be like enthusiastic about it the next day. How many bands have you backed that everyone's like, no, this is not good, but you've stuck with it? I heard that you were playing the streets and people were not liking it at all. and you stuck with it, and eventually everyone came around.
Well, the Streets was an interesting one because the Streets was at the point where email had become a thing. Because when myself and Joe Wiley started on the evening session on Radio 1 in, was it late 93 and through 94, all our communication came via the fax machine. we would give out the fax number, and I mean, amazingly, we got loads of response. I think, who's got a fax machine?
Oh my God, has someone archived that? That needs to be in the British Library. It'd be fascinating.
Reams of faxes and people writing in. But obviously, eventually, you get to the point where, and this, I think, it fundamentally changes what a DJ's approach is once you stop being just a radio presenter and become almost like a club DJ.
Yeah. Because
email gives people the ability to, as you would in a club, to go up to you and say, can you take this shit off, please? And that's what happened with the Streets. When we started playing Has It Come to This, it was every night was, can you take this? Please never play this again, ever. But I thought it was good. I thought it was all right.
That was the most polarising track, was it? You never saw that many faxes come through normally. You could hear a machine in the corner going crazy.
No, but this was, it was the first time I think people were really offended almost by this, because by that point, I post Britpop, the music was beginning to change and move on, and they were okay with Fatboy Slim, but this garage thing, I'm not having this. This is what Pete Tong does on Friday night. We're not having this.
Not on the indie show, no.
Yeah, not next to Feeder. But we just persevere. And of course, within 6 months, by the time the album, when original Pirate Material comes out, everyone sort of gets it. But you've got to have an opinion, I think. And I think that's a difference in how journalism is now, as opposed to probably where it was when I was writing for the New Musical Express. And I'm not saying it's necessarily, it was much better in those days, because there were all the accusations that the music papers would build bands up and then just to knock them down. And people were, even I've read some of the reviews I wrote at the time, and we were cruel. We slated some bands, but we had an opinion, and there was within that music paper, within that, whatever it was, 74 pages, people had differing opinions, and it created a sort of debate. And I think without that, and because of the fact that websites particularly need music, and they need the music industry to be on side, I don't think critically we have that sort of diverse set of opinions within one space where you can sort of start making your own mind up, really. And I think there are a lot of overly positive sometimes reviews of things, or they're just a bit bland, some of the writing. And I don't want people just to take that and think, right, we'll just go and slate a load of people.
I've got to say, there's a special glee at a 0-star review in The Guardian. Me and my wife share them often. It's brilliant. I think there's one of Robbie Williams' art exhibition recently, which was just pure joy to read. But yeah
that is great. But then, I used to, the last phase of Q magazine before it closed down, when Ted Kessler was the editor, who I worked with very briefly at Select magazine, and I thought Ted turned Q into a really great magazine. It was really good, because I'd gone through a period where I couldn't read Q because it was just rubbish and a bit pompous. And Ted made it into a really interesting magazine. The only problem with it was every album got 4.
Oh, 4.
It was 3 or 4. And if it was a 3, this is what press officers always say, well, it's a 3, but it reads like a 4.
I didn't know this about you before, but you had a record label as well.
I did.
Deceptive Records. Now, obviously being a Harlow boy or come around, is that why you signed Collapsed Lung? Did you just see them at the square and you thought we need a band?
No.
I love Collapse Lung, by the way. I'm not dissing them.
No, I mean, no, but Collapse Lung was the reason it started. I'd worked for the NME for 5 years. I'd spent quite a lot of time slagging off the major labels and the way they worked and the A&R people and just the MO of the labels. We'll sign something early. We don't know what to do with it. We'll throw some money at it and then we'll drop it. And I just thought that was awful. Cool. And the way they tried to change bands that they'd signed and mould them and manipulate them, I didn't like it at all, and I didn't like a lot of the bands that they were signing. But after you've done that for a time, I think it's only right then that you go out and try and prove that you can do it better, or there was a different way. Otherwise, you're just slagging people off. Is just although fun is you don't really. I wanted to prove a point, I think. So when I left the NME, myself and a couple of people I knew, we said, well, this is the time. Let's start a record label. And obviously, having left the NME, and I was a bit of a loss at what to do, really, because I'd walked out of the NME in a fit of pique. It was all to do with a new editor being appointed and stuff. And I was sat downstairs at the Square one lunchtime, feeling a bit sorry for myself. Yeah. And Anthony Chapman of Collapse Lung walked in and said, I've got a new thing. And he gave me a demo. And I thought, well, this is fate then. Yeah. And so we started the label. And I always say that this sounds ludicrous, but my one ambition was, having lived in Harlow for quite a long time, Harlow had never produced anyone really successful apart from...
Don't tell Newtown Neurotics that.
No. A top 40 hit. Right? Yeah. I mean, the Newtown Neurotics are a great band, never had a top 40 hit. And that's the problem. That's the only reason people, if you look through the big book of, the big historical book of rock and roll or pop music, Roman Holiday were the only band from Harlow to have had a top 40 hit. So I started the label because I wanted a band from Harlow to have a top 40 hit.
And you thought that was going to be Chainsaw Wedgie?
But yeah, not in the end, not Chainsaw. I mean, the weirdest thing, obviously, I didn't know who else was in the band, but in the original lineup of Collapse Lung, the original rapper was Nihal, who ended up having a career on BBC 5 Live as a presenter.
I saw him at the Army and Navy in the Muddy Funksters that he left the Collapse Lung for. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
I tried to sell him back his Muddy Funksters t-shirt about 2 years ago.
But yes, that was one of the reasons for starting it. And of course, in the end, Eat My Goal became a top 40 hit, and so we if for nothing else, it was success doing that.
And you spawned Mr. Beeler Gentleman Rhymer from it as well, which is brilliant. So that's a good signing.
I mean, to be fair as well, we did sign Elastica.
Has anyone heard of them? Elastica?
Yeah.
Oh, Sangeeta's the only person. Sangeeta's the only person in the room that hasn't heard of Elastica.
Just don't go there.
You'd like them.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah, you would like Elastica.
Oh, well, Google
listen
them later.
Listen to the first album first.
Okay.
Right before.
On Deceptive Records.
Yeah, on Deceptive Records. On Deceptive Records. But yeah. Sorry.
I listen to Wire.
Yeah, well, this is a great point from the gentleman in the second row. So we had two things, right? When it came to the label, one, want to have a hit from a band from Harlow. Two, we didn't sign anyone who didn't like Wire. And Collapse Lung liked Wire. We signed Elastica, a band called Scarfo. They love Wire. Earl Brutus,
brilliant.
Wire. Do you like Wire? No, not really. I'll see you later. Yeah. We only sign bands who like Wire.
This is a good place to go fishing for bands, though, isn't it? We are, in Essex, we're punching well above our weight on the music scene.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? What we found in Harlow, and there were lots of bands in Harlow at one point, was you're slightly too close to London to be sort of, hit or have your own scene. The weird thing is, people in the music industry would rather go to Manchester or they'd rather go to Cardiff. They'd rather go somewhere where they can have a night out on expenses than they would go up the M11 or come up the A12, see a band and then go home. So you're too close in a way to have the enigma or your own little scene, or to have something which they'll be teased enough by to really buy into. And I think that's always been part of Colchester's problem, because there's no...
Colchester, right, talk about Colchester. Melody Maker. Remember the last... I don't know if you probably don't remember this. The last episode of Melody Maker, the last edition, they said the best band in the world ever was Bum Gravy. From Colchester. Can you remember Bum Gravy?
I remember the name.
It's the best name of a band ever.
I can't sing any of their songs.
Well, I'll never forget them now.
Page 3, opened up a full page spread about how brilliant Bum Gravy were, and I thought that's brilliant. That's a journalist just having a great day at work, isn't it? Just like, well, I've lost my job, I was going to write about Bum Gravy now. But that was brilliant to see a Colchester band like that. You'd expect it to be Blur or someone like that, and no. Bum Gravy.
Yeah,
they're still around.
we are. I mean, as a county, we have had some fantastically named bands, haven't we?
Yeah.
Do you remember Pregnant Neck? No. You will now. But there's always been... I think one of the other problems, and certainly this is true now, and I know we do have, there's Hotbox and Three Wise Monkeys. There are places where you can go, but one of the problems with, as you mentioned earlier on, with bands not being able to afford to either A, go on tour, or B, stay out on tour, is that bands come out of London, they don't turn right. And that includes Norwich, Ipswich, Chelmsford, Colchester, and persuading them that there is an audience out here is part of the thing that I'm trying to get behind in my role of chair of Live, and the work we're doing with the Live Trust is to get bands to go to towns and cities that have just fallen off the gig map. I mean, it was always difficult. I mean, I know, The Cure played in Chelmsford in 1970. Yeah. But you want artists to come to, because the more, if you have touring bands like, I don't know, when the Y Club, the Army and Navy, when there were touring bands coming through, then more bands will form. Because if you're a local musician, what do you really want to do? Your first thing is, I want to play a gig in front of my mates, and then I want to support a band that I've read about or I know, and then I want to record a demo, and then I want to do it a bigger, local show. But it's nothing like showing off to your mates, is there? And also being able to play music to a bunch of friends so that you can learn about yourself. But bands form when there is a venue.
Yeah.
When the Harlow Square shut down, the entire music scene in Harlow, apart from the people who were there already and could carry on by playing gigs outside of Harlow, there was nowhere. I remember I went to the last night of the Harlow Square, the night it closed down, and there was a young band of 17-year-olds who were the first on. And when they finished, the dad of the guitarist came up and said, well, that's it. They'll never get to play in front of their mates anymore. And it was the saddest thing. And that's true. So we need venues to build an audience, to bring people in, to open people's minds to the sort of music that is out there that they don't hear on the radio or maybe don't necessarily read about, and to give opportunities to people who would love to be in a band, but they're never going to be in a band if they've got nowhere to go and play. You create a scene by having a great venue, and you build that community, and that is what we need to do more of in Essex.
This is what I say to people: like, if something doesn't exist, you got to make it yourself. You got to build it yourself. Very hard with a venue, and we know venues are really struggling. You get venue owners they're cleaning the toilets, doing all the other jobs as well to keep it going, and actually losing money every week. I think I was hearing about the windmill the other day. It's not successful at all, but it keeps going, because people keep going for the love of it. Got a guy over there with a Hotbox hat on. It's amazing the work that Hotbox do in Chelmsford as well, and Radio City Social. And it was. I remember being a kid in Colchester growing up, and after seeing Radiohead and bands like that, and Blur at the uni, everyone wanted to be in a band. Yeah, and play. And the dream was to play at Colchester Arts Centre. Don't know why Anthony at the Colchester Arts Centre let us play when we were 14 and stuff. Our terrible bands. But he'd put you on as support because he knew not many people would be around there, and he knows that's your pipeline for more people coming through. It's so exciting. I love just coming out with band names is the greatest thing in the world. Yeah. Pregnant Neck, that's amazing. I think the Meths, talking about the Meths again, but they were in one called Horrible Dolphins before or something like that. That's the best name ever.
We used to, when I used to go and DJ, I used to do a tour of Freshers, for Freshers Week, when I was young and the music we were playing was probably more in vogue. But we would go away. So it was me and a mate of mine would drive the car because often I'd just fall asleep I'd be too drunk to drive after the gig. But our favourite thing was on a very long drive would be playing the John Peel band name game. And you just had to come up with names and deliver them in the voice of John Peel.
Brilliant.
I thought I was winning at one point. We were coming back from Sheffield when I said, and coming up in session, it's Tiny Desk Unit. But then my friend Liam, who was driving, said, followed by Hexagonal Pensioner.
I was doing that. We were playing a download last year, and I think we had 10,000 people there. And I was saying, who's here to see these bands? I was going through band names. And I made up loads of joke band names. But, no one knows when it's Mel. I think Fecal Incarceration was the best one that I got a massive cheer for. It's like, that's not a real band. What, cheering.
But it sounded good.
It sounded good, yeah. And I remembered it. And I was like, that name got a cheer. I'm going to start a band called that now. Sounds legit.
What's going to happen is you're going to wake up in the middle of the night now with band names in your head.
Yeah. I'll be honest, indie music is not my thing, but I am actually learning a lot more. Well, creativity isn't really my thing, but I'm learning so much.
Sangeeta is doing a podcast here with Steve Lamacq.
I know. I feel good.
I tricked her into being creative.
Can I ask, how did you go looking for these bands then? So did they kind of send music to you, or did you said that you go to all these different gigs? How do you know that there's a band that comes up with a no name, say like Slay Dougie, like over here, say that they're a nobody? How do you know? Sorry.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, me neither. But just say, for example, Slay Dougie, they're playing. How do you get to find that out? Do people tell you, or do you go researching?
It's a mixture of all that, yeah. I've been around for obviously quite a long time now,
sure.
So I know, managers and radio pluggers or press officers or venue promoters, and people will say, you might like this.
Right.
The worst thing is when a mate says to you, you'll really like this. And you go along and the band is shit. And you think, you thought I was going to like that. What do you think? But yeah, it's a mixture of stuff. And then, you'll spend a little bit of time online. I go and dice quite a lot, the tickets. And just look at, what's happening and who's playing and see if there's anything good. You'll see bands by mistake, because I always try and turn up early for a support band if I can. Yeah. And the support band might be better than the main band. So
Radiohead.
But yeah, sometimes it's recommendations, sometimes it's things you've found by accident. But it's just knowing which of those ones is, might be quite good.
Yeah.
Have you had those stumble on moments when you're walking between stages at a festival or something, and you've just heard someone and been like, this becomes your new favourite band?
No, I did. I'd come into town to go to the comic shop Forbidden Planet. And I think I might have still even been living out in Harlow at this time. But I came into town, went to Forbidden Planet. I was going to see a band called the Caretaker Race at the Falcon in Camden. This would be 1980s, start of 89 maybe. And so I just went and sat in the bar and started reading some of the comics that I bought. And the guy who was promoting the gig that night was a guy called Jeff Barrett, who was the press officer for Creation Records. He would later go on, he started Heavenly Records, still runs the Heavenly record label now. But Jeff came out to get a drink, and he looked up and went, "Oh, Steve, glad you're here. There's a band who are playing their first on tonight. I think they're really good. You should come in early and see them." And that was a group called the Sundays, and the Sundays were just it was just amazing seeing them this tiny room. So, yeah, sometimes, and so, I mean, you can't really go cold calling anymore because there's too many gigs and not enough time. But sometimes you would just go out, and there was a band called Akara Cult who I really liked, who I only saw because I just went to the Dublin Castle one night because I thought the name was quite interesting.
I love it.
Yeah, so that still happens.
Okay, I like to go and see a band just based on the logo or, like how good the poster is as well.
Well, I mean, I only went to see, there's a band around at the moment who I think are quite good, who've just signed a Fiction Records called Man, Woman, Chainsaw.
Yeah, great name.
Only went to see them because of the
that.
name. It was, I had a night with nothing on, and they were playing the Shacklewell Arms. I thought that sounds really good, so I looked them up. And they had one track online, and I thought, I mean, that's shambolic and noisy and might be all right. And so I went, and they turned out to be pretty good. By the way, a lot of times they're not pretty good.
Yeah, I hear
And you will curse yourself.
Yeah.
But that's when you go home and you want to start a band.
I've never wanted to start a band.
Have you never wanted to start a band?
Never wanted to start a band. I would just, in front of and I know we have a very polite and lovely audience here, I've always thought, and I'm sure they will confirm, I don't look like somebody who should be in a band. And I never look like somebody who should be in a band.
They're the people that should be in bands.
No, but that's like saying John Motson should have played number 9 for Arsenal. There are people who can do one thing, who understand the thing, but just can't do it. I mean, I bought a bass guitar when I was 15 or 16 off a lad in Colchester, and I can still only play the first Ramones album all these years later. So, yeah, it's not mentality-wise. I think, and this comes back to, the whole idea of being creative is what are you good at? What avenue are going to use to express yourself? What's the best way of doing it? And how do you understand creativity? Do you understand the tearing it apart or getting inside it, or do you understand the actual creating of it? And I think I'm much better as an observer than I ever would have been as somebody who tried to write a lyric, because I don't think I have enough in myself that I want to actually say to people, but I can tell people the emotion that I feel when somebody said something to me.
Yeah.
I'm much better at that.
Yeah.
I think being band adjacent is one of the best roles you could possibly ever do, because you get to do all the fun things that the band do, like go to gigs. If you're running merch or you're driving a van or something, you don't have to do all that angsty stuff of like getting on stage and
Yeah, but then again, you don't, and this is an interesting thing, but you don't get and this is something I never wanted, which is lucky, you don't get the adulation though. You don't get the...
Well, that's just being a drummer generally. You just got to put up with everyone coming and tell the rest of the band how good they were and just totally ignoring you.
Oh.
Sangeeta, I've got to tell you a story, right? Because me and Steve have got previous. So there's little... I've done a session on your show, Steve, before. And what was mad, me and my friends Ben and Jim, we decided to make a band on the Thursday, recorded a song. Then we made a video on the Friday. It sounds like Craig David, doesn't it? Now we made a video on the Friday. You played it on your show on the Monday, and we sold 13 T-shirts on the Tuesday. It was amazing, and had 250,000 listens. It was "Stick" by Slay Dougie.
That is amazing. Which
is, I think it's still a banger. Sometimes it still gets played sometimes on Six Music, but that is mad. Like to go from 5 days from nothing.
From zero to hero.
I was in a video edit suite doing an advert for someone. I was making the video for it in the back, making sure the client couldn't see what I was doing on my computer. and I think I wrote half the song at work as well. It was brilliant, but it was like after 30 years of plugging away in indie bands trying to do something, and then it's just something silly just happens, and just imagine. And I don't even know how it ended up on your show.
I can't remember. Did you not send it to us?
I can't even remember. Maybe I tweeted it. Maybe because you said you liked Stick, and I was like, oh,
I think that was,
I've got better than Stick. I've got punk Stick.
Yeah. And it was really good. I mean, it's when you're trying to put a radio show together, right? And particularly between 4 and 7. Because the thing about doing a radio program, the thing about anything, I guess, unless you are just, if you're an artist who's just making art for themselves, and that's fine. But certainly on radio, I think you do well to remember what your audience are doing, because you want to communicate to them in the best way. Because they're the people. I was going to say you're selling yourself to, but they're the people you're trying to entertain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
They're the people who are listening to you, and you want to do something which, forms a connection between you and them. And the thing about when we did the evening session on Radio 1, we very much, when we started, myself and Joe, we very much modelled it on the radio that we'd listen to on Radio 1. And it was people doing their homework. So school age, homework, college kids. And we just tried to, because we were no different to them. We were just a bit older and on the other side of a microphone. And that's always been my thing. It's just, we're all the same. It's just, I'm this side of the microphone, no better than you. I just got lucky. We're all in this together and we all want to have a nice time. So for 3 hours on 6 Music, you're thinking, what are people doing? We have an amazing audience, on 6, particularly at that point, because you've got mums and dads, you've got kids of all ages who've come home from school, people sitting down to eat, and as much as you're trying to bring people some new interesting stuff, and obviously as much as I want to retain some sort of credible crown of going, and now I've found an amazing thing. As much as you want to do that, you're there really to just, between 4 and 7, we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll play some records that we'll play something which you don't know but think you might like. I'll play you something which you don't know, which I don't think you'll like, but I like it. And so within this mix of stuff, playing a hardcore punk rock version of a 1-minute song, which is on the most popular kids' TV program at the time, makes absolute sense.
I've got to say, it's very surreal. And, sat there in your studio, waiting for it to come up. You can see what songs are playing on your, on your screen there. And I think "Mysterious Cities of Gold" was on before the theme tune was on before we played. It's the most surreal experience having it on your headphones and just being full of nervous energy, thinking we're going to play live now on your show. Also,
but I've always been one for trying to. We could just every week try and fill up live sessions with bands that I don't know. One of the hipster websites are saying, "Well, this is good and this is good," but also we're the BBC, right? And while I'm at the BBC, let as many different people on the BBC as possible. Come on. Right? Yes. Because you should give people a chance. And from that moment where I went to see the Lurkers, the underdogs of the punk movement, have always been about trying to just, particularly at the BBC, it's access to the radio, not just for the people who are really cool or the people who can, because they've had the opportunities. It's giving opportunities to just anyone, and people have a mix of people who are going to be Coldplay and at one end of the scale, and Slay Dougie at the other. Thank you. Hey guys, look, listen. Hey, look, this guy sometimes sings with Slay Dougie, but I say, but. That is the biggest compliment I could ever hear, being the polar opposite of Coldplay. That's my epitaph. Let's go on my grave. Thank you. So, I don't want to stop the podcast there, but I feel like we should. No.
I just want to kind of ask, what happens when you like a piece of music, you stick it on the radio, but your audience doesn't like it. How do you go back, and then when that person whose music it is goes, "Oh, I did that go," how do you then go and break it to them? Well, actually, it was quite shit. We're not playing you again. Yeah, you was great. like that must be quite hard. We don't really have a lot of those conversations. Okay.
But I think you'd probably let them down reasonably
Just avoid their phone calls. No more feedback.
I mean, also the thing is, I probably side with. I mean, I'm not saying that we know better than everybody else, but as I say, it's that perseverance thing again.
Yeah.
This didn't land, as well as we wanted, but I think you're really good. I think you're really good. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done this.
So you still give them that encouragement that keeps them going, I guess.
Oh God,
yeah.
And what's worse is when you've really championed someone, you believe that they're doing a really good thing, you're really into it, and then they come back with a record where they've completely lost their way, and then that I find is difficult. And artists can lose their way for all manner of reasons. They've artistically, they've listened to some stuff, they've gone off in a different direction, which is fine, but they're probably not playing to their strengths in a way that they could, or a record label or a manager has said, maybe, to get more successful quicker, you could do this. And for some reason, they've tried to mould themselves into what's apparently required of them at the time to become successful. But again, it's not their thing. And that I find difficult.
For other venues, what would you say that they need to be more open to? Say, even in our area here.
Well, this is another difficult thing, isn't it? Because venues at the moment, everything, if you're a small grassroots venue and you've got to pay the bills by the end of the month, and I know at least 2 venues where I've spoken to the owner / promoter and they've said, we get to the 29th of the month. We've got 1 gig or 2 gigs left. We are £500 shy of paying the bills for that month. And they just don't know if they're going to make it through the next month. And that's how perilous it is for grassroots venues. So when you're doing this balance, you've got to find a balance between things which will bring people in.
And make you money.
Make your money over the bar, particularly, which is why so many venues book tribute acts, because quite often the tribute acts, the bar take on tribute acts. I think Music Venue Trusts have got a stat which says the bar take on tribute acts is like a third more than it is on the new bands.
Wow.
It's genuinely big. Something ridiculous. But so yes, you would like venues to be able to put on, new artists, younger artists. But it's, a balance, knowing that, unfortunately, until you have a community who trust the venue and will just turn up to see anything because it's a good social night out, you might not get many people coming in for it. So, and that's why it used to work. Particularly at a place like the Harlow Square, was you'd have a touring band and then you'd have the local support one.
Yes.
And so what you need is more touring bands coming through here, where at least, 80 people would go, I'll pay the ticket price for that. And then you can put champion somebody beneath it. I mean, that's it, because that's how it works. And that's how our radio shows work. That's how we used to do the evening session, even to a certain extent. Now, the Monday show, I was thinking of packing it in, right, for a while. And I had lots of conversations at the end of a contract with Six Music and said, I think I've done everything now. And I would like some free time to go and do some other stuff, because I'd been with the BBC for 30 years. And I'm not sure how much I can do. And I feel like Six Music's changing and maybe I should move out of the way. And they said, anyway, we carried on the conversation. Bless Lorna Clark, who is sort of head of BBC Radio, said, stay and do one show. I guarantee you'll miss it if you go. And we'll give you a slot where you can do what you want to do.
Brilliant.
So I get to I don't have to play any playlist records on a Monday.
Yeah.
I can just program 3 hours of radio, which it's amazing that they've allowed us to do that. But then imagine what it's like trying to, you still want to, as many people as possible to listen. So it's like a jigsaw putting it together where big record at the top of the program, right? And then maybe the second record is a new record, but by somebody the audience might know. And then it's a banger at record 3, then it's something new. But you've got to balance it out. Things that a broader audience, because believe it or not everyone outside of this room really wants to hear the new stuff that I'm into or you might be into. Yeah. Because they listen to radio for entertainment, and that's absolutely, and obviously that's brilliant. It's fine.
But that's brilliant. You can Trojan horse in 10 Benson when you want, or something like that, and
the freedom to do that.
This is why, again, through the days of the evening session, if you play the Stereophonics, you can play Hefner afterwards.
Yeah.
If you play something big, you can get away with something afterwards. I once said to somebody said to me, "How do you program radio?" And I went, "I program radio a bit like I remember John Peel's shows being." And John said, "Yeah, what I do is play one record that I know the audience will like, one record which I think the audience may like, and then another record which I don't care whether the audience fucking like it or not.
That.
I'm going to play it for me, and then I do it round again."
Brilliant.
And you do that for 2 hours, and that's essentially what we now do on a Monday. Is a bit like that.
I just want to talk about one brilliant story, because I was watching recently. I was watching Nirvana at the BBC, which is a brilliant show on the iPlayer. You should watch, and I loved your section on it. And I just want Sangeeta to hear about the story about when you went to interview Nirvana. If you could, are you okay to tell that?
Yeah, no,
in a very glamorous location.
Yeah, so there was a guy called Anton Brooks, who was a press officer who worked at Southern, and he did press for Carter the Unstoppable Sex Machine, I think, and the Senseless Things and stuff like that. But he also did Nirvana, and he'd had some success getting people to write about Bleach. And I remember he said, "We've got this Nirvana single coming out, and they're coming over." Because the New Musical Express was quite late on Nirvana. Sounds, I think, were far ahead of us in the game when it came to the whole grunge thing. But anyway, he sent us. He sent an advanced cassette of.
We were talking about that earlier, cassettes.
He sent us a cassette of the track Sliver.
Yeah.
And then he sent us the early demos of 4 of the tracks, which would end up on Nevermind. So demos of Polly, and I can't remember what the others were. But I said, well, we'll definitely do something. So we organised it. So Nirvana came in. I think they did 5 dates in the UK, and one of them was at the Astoria. So the morning of the gig at the Astoria, we went down, myself and a photographer called Martin Goodacre. They were staying in a bed and breakfast in Shepherd's Bush. So we went to this bed and breakfast, and they were all staying in the same room. So they had three beds.
That's 3 in the room, not 7 for that one. Yeah.
3. So there's the 3 of them in the same room. So we went up, room number 14. Kurt Cobain opened the door, walked in, and Chris Novoselic had got a cold, or as he called it. So he's in bed with the covers over him, and Chris, are you okay? And he just went, "I've got one of your English colds." And then put the covers back over his
One of
head.
your English codes.
One of your English
How quaint.
codes, I love it.
One of your English colds. It's our fault. And so if this is the bed, I mean, it's the wrong way around, because Kurt was sat here. So so there was me, Kurt Cobain, and I put my, it's like a recording Walkman thing, like a cassette Walkman that you could record on. Put that there. Chris Novoselic is there with the covers over his head. The drummer, who's quite new, is just it's like he's not allowed to speak.
Yeah, no one ever heard of that guy afterwards. Anyway,
so he's doing stuff, and it was a really good. I mean, I have to say, it wasn't a bad interview. They only gave us, I think, 3/4 of a page to write up the interview, maybe a page in the NME. But the thing was that the thing that people don't really, I guess, because he's not portrayed as being a man with a sense of humour, but Kurt Cobain had a really good, they had a goofy sense of humour, and, they were playing off each other. Chris eventually joins in the conversation. The interesting thing, because this is the transition from what was quite a hardcore record in Bleach to what would become Nevermind, and they talked a lot about the Beatles, particularly R.E.M. They were kind of in awe of R.E.M.'s ability to take rock music and give it melody. And I think the ambition that they had at the time was to take punk rock, to take that underground DIY thing, to take what Husker Du had done and Sonic Youth did, and to take some of that, and the original punk rock bands that they obviously really liked, to take some of that, and particularly lyrically, but give it a melody and a size, I think. And this was really quite ambitious, because if you think back, it was amazing that, because it all starts with Husker Du, from that underground punk rock movement of the early 80s in the States. By the time they eventually signed to a major label, that was an incredible jump. And the cries of sell out and everything. But them signing to, I think, was it Sire or Warner's? Them signing meant it was okay for Sonic Youth to then sign to Geffen, and then Sonic Youth, when they were at Geffen, tipped off Geffen about this band Nirvana, and Nirvana signed to Geffen. So this has been coming for a long time. And we talked about all these things, and bumper stickers and being on tour and all sorts of nonsense, and it was really good. But all the time while this was going on, and you don't want to break eye contact with Kurt, even though he's basically said this a lot of the time. The spell is broken if you're not all in this together. But I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, and there's this other guy, the drummer guy.
Oh, yeah.
Who's just, I don't know what he's doing, but eventually, and I'm going to have
you might have heard of him, Sangeeta.
Go on.
I'm going to have to move the microphone around a little bit. So the drummer guy, I'm there, Kurt's there, and the drummer guy has got a bin bag, right? And he's hauling this bin bag past us. Along we go. To the bathroom. No. I broke contact with Kurt just for a second, look into the bathroom, and in the bathroom, you can just about see this guy emptying the bin bag into the bath. And that is when I saw Dave Grohl washing Nirvana's pants and socks in the bath of their B&B in Shepherd's Bush.
Well, like a hand wash, old school.
Okay,
I love that.
Well done. I mean, as a seasoned broadcaster, you've just given us a great, lovely thing to end on.
That's
good mic drop story. So thanks so much for coming and joining us.
Thank you for having us.
I think,
very much. Thank you.
Can you come?
Well done.
Thank you.
I feel like we're going to have to get you back again, because I only covered about one page of my
I was
notes.
gonna say.
We had a lot more to talk about, and I'm sure
It's gone really quick.
Yeah, it's gone very quickly.
Oh,
so yeah, thanks a lot. I've got to remember, people are listening to this at home as well. So yeah, thanks for listening to Are You Creative? Follow us on Instagram at r.u.creative.podcast. Can just about remember it. Thanks to Patch Place and the Essex Podcast Festival, and all the people at Chelmsford for you. Did someone give a patch? What was that cheer for? Patch Place or Essex Podcast Festival? Everything. I could just say the Meths and that gets a big cheer. Thank you very much, Steve Lamacq.
Can I say thank you very much for coming? It's really made my night. Thank you.
Oh,
It's lovely to be back in Chelmsford. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bless you.